Ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome to your Big Buck Legends one-on-one podcast.
All right, here we go.
Presented by Kindred Digital, Toy Production Services, and Big Buck Country 101.5.
All right, I'm listening.
Each show, we'll sit down and go one-on-one with the country music legends. And from time to time, we'll introduce you to the future legends as well. Pour your favorite drink and sit back and enjoy your Big Buck Legends one-on-one podcast.
All right, I think all the levels are set.
Go.
Let's go.
Here's your host, Jason Toy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of our Big Buck Legends one-on-one podcast. Jason Toy here with you, and we're starting our third season. This is episode 1, and it's kind of our tribute to Keith Whitley. We had a chance to sit down after it was announced that Keith Whitley was going to go into the Country Music Hall of Fame with his wife, Lorrie Morgan, and his brother, Dwight Whitley, to find out about the impact of how finally having his legacy cemented into the Country Music Hall of Fame. So in this edition of our Big Buck Legends one-on-one podcast, we catch up with Lorrie and Dwight, not only about things they got going on, but how big it was to hear about Keith Whitley going in to the Country Music Hall of Fame. Enjoy it. Joining us now is Lorrie Morgan, as it's been a big week here for Lorrie and Jesse, Keith, Dwight, and the whole Whitley family, because Keith Whitley announced going into the Country Music Hall of Fame. And Lorrie, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Jason?
Pretty good. It's great to catch up with you, and it's been awesome, actually, to be able to catch up with you here because obviously been a big admirer of your career for so long. We love having you as part of our radio station and love the fact that, we had a chance to get to see you a little while ago, and I know it was a huge thing for your family and Jesse, Keith, and everybody when they announced that Keith Whitley is going to go into the Country Music Hall of Fame. That's a huge deal for you guys. Congratulations.
It was. Thank you. It was the moment we've been waiting for a very, very long time, and I'm just happy that he's finally in his forever home and a place he most assuredly deserves to be. And it took a village. It took the fans and my manager and his family and my family and so many supporters of Keith to get him there. So we're very proud of that.
Yeah, we talked to Dwight, his brother, right after that as well, and you could still hear the tears in his voice. That the emotions that came out when that announcement happened.
Oh yeah, and he was the first person I called. Dwight was, and I talked to him yesterday. It was his birthday, and he sounds so much like Keith. It was frightening. It was just frightening, and I heard he's kind of working on a little band thing himself, and I just love staying in touch with Uncle Dwight. He's my closest. Him and Jesse are my closest things to Keith.
You talk about with Jesse as well, too. I know this is very special to have his dad be able to do this, but also Jesse in his own career as well. I know you guys perform a lot together, too, and it's great. I know it as a mom, I'm sure, obviously, it's great to see that Whitley name continue on through your son, and he continues to put out great stuff.
Yeah, the thing about Jesse, when he first started, people expected him to, sound just like Keith. And while there is a lot of Keith tones in his voice, he's outlaw. I mean, he does his own thing. He loves doing his daddy songs and carrying the name on. But people have realized he's his own identity.
Yeah. And we just had him here not too long ago playing here in Eastern Kentucky, and I know you guys know this area very well, and had a great crowd there, as he always does, too. So Lorrie Morgan is here with us, and Lorrie, real quick before we talk about the new stuff you have coming up, and, of course, you got a show coming your way here this week at the Jackson County Fair, too. I want to ask you a couple more things about with Keith, and I know you guys got something special that you're working on, that Keith Whitley Memorial Monument that you're raising funds for. Tell folks what this project is and how they can be a part of it.
Well, when Keith passed away, we didn't have any money. We didn't have any money or anything, and so the stone was basically donated by Joe Galani, the president of RCA, and over the years it's been beautiful, but I just feel like Keith needed something more stately for his stone, and I have worked on finding the right stone for years, and I finally found it. And my manager decided it would be best to let the fans be a part of helping fund the monument, and we just feel honored that if the fans want to be a part of it, their name will be put somewhere around the stone that they have helped donate. The Keith's final resting place, and it's just a beautiful angel, and it's very. It's not gaudy. It's very unstately, actually. It's very it's not gaudy. That's all I'm going to say. And it's beautiful. And I forget, where do they go to get to Indiegogo.com?
Mm-hmm.
And they put in the search bar Keith Whitley, and there's all kinds of packages that they can buy to. They get something back for their donation, is what I'm saying. It depends on how much they give. And we want to get this done ASAP for the next year's Keith Whitley ride. So we're trying to get it where that's the presentation that we'll be showing next year at the Keith Whitley Memorial Ride.
And I know folks can give as little as $10, and it goes all the way up well beyond that. It includes you and Jesse Keith doing a show, either a private show or a public show for whoever, too. That's a pretty neat deal. Yeah,
it's great. It's great. And, a lot of people were like, I don't understand why she just doesn't get it. Well, we want everybody to be a part of the process of honoring Keith.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So that's awesome indeed.
Yeah.
It's a really sweet deal. And the monument up there, it's at Spring Hill Cemetery in Nashville, so folks can go visit it. And also, too, when you guys get done with this, I know, like you said, before the ride next year, which Dwight and I were talking about that as well, that a great annual event, and you guys are hoping to have everything done by that point.
We hope so, yeah. There's a beautiful monument up in Sandy Hook, for Keith. It's a bronze statue, I think, that some guy donated and did for the Whitleys, but it's not his hometown where he lived and wanted to be. It was in Nashville, and this is, again, his final resting place. And, baby, are you okay? My husband's, you're bending over.
Uh-oh.
My husband had eye surgery, and he's not supposed to bend over.
Gotcha.
And he bends over a lot.
Well, it's a part of it. You got to be a mom. You got to be a wife. You got to be a musician as well too. And you're multifaceted.
I have a lot of parts.
And I neglected to say this, but an author as well. So you've been published before. You got new stuff coming out as well. What do you have working on?
Oh my gosh! Well, I got this new book I'm working on. Just the other book was a lot, basically about Keith and our relationship and his time with me. Mm-hmm. And this book is about me and struggles being a woman in this crazy music industry, and struggles with being a mom. It's just kind of letting people know where I've been, where I've come from, what I've dealt with along the way, some of the fun things about it, and also, some funny stories in there with some late great musicians and artists, and there's just some funny stuff in it and some emotional things in it. So been working on this book for about 5 years. So
wow.
I'm getting close to it being done. I'm hoping to write my last pages down in St. Joe, Florida, with my publicist, and who's going to help me get it all organized, and then we'll get it out there. But I'm also just completed a brand new album with Richard Landis, my old-time producer and old friend, and then I've got a project I'm working on with Larry Gatlin called L&L, where I'm we're writing all the songs for the album. And then I'm doing another project where I'm producing a new act. Her name is Morgan Cheyenne, and
Wow.
she is as country as cornbread. And we don't have anybody like that right now.
Yeah.
She's the authentic. And matter of fact, she's coming out this afternoon and playing me some songs that she's written, and we're hoping to get her in the studio ASAP.
You know, and you talked about that and having an act that you're trying to carry on. You know, I mean, you talk about with the influence of real country music and women in country music. Is it starting to, I don't want to say equal out, but is the playing field starting to get more leveled, or is it still a long way to go?
Well, it varies. It varies more than it used to. It's still a pretty tough business for women, but and there's a lot. It's not just saying that it's because of men, but you know, women travel differently than men. We require certain things that men don't require. One thing is more sleep, more. I mean, it's just a whole different world for the women out there traveling, and you know, I've been out there 47 years, so there's things that I require now at this age that I didn't when I was younger, and to make sure we get them on riders and things like that. It's like pulling teeth sometimes from promoters, and it's not ridiculous things like just only green M&Ms. It's not like that. It's just things that make you a little bit more comfortable on the road, and it's you know, guys don't understand a lot of times what females go through to look good for stage. And then, you know, there's always the women writers, songwriters have always had a little tougher way to go than the males, but I think that's changing a lot. So, which is great. But you know, I'm not still so sure that it's not quite equal yet, but it's better than it used to be.
That's a great thing to hear. Lorrie Morgan is here with us. And, Lorrie, I know your admiration for Tammy Wynette and Jeannie Seeley. And who else influenced you, at an early age, and who still influences you today?
Well, I was a big Karen Carpenter fan.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I loved Karen Carpenter. Absolutely. And I think the best female singer on this planet is Celine Dion. I mean, there's hands down best singer alive. Before her was Barbra Streisand, and I'm a huge fan of both of them. But you know, I also love Dottie West because she was a kind of a raw. She was a, you know, don't mess with me kind of gal, and it showed in her voice, and I loved her. Sammy Smith. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of people I admire and greatly influenced by. So I don't know if you remember. Well, hell, I can't even remember her name right now. Wait a second. Oh, wait a minute. What was her name? Wilma Burgess. Do you remember Wilma Burgess?
I've heard the name once before, but I couldn't tell you anything about her.
She was a country singer years, and I was a little girl, and her name was Wilma Burgess, and she recorded that song "Misty Blue" in a country version, and I absolutely admired her. I mean, I was a Wilma Burgess fan. Get a chance, Google her and listen to some of her old country records. She was a feisty woman and singer, and I just loved her.
Well, how does it make you feel today when artists will say Lorrie Morgan was a big influence on me? How does that make you feel?
Old. Of course, it's flattery. I mean, yes, that makes me feel great, but oh my gosh, I haven't heard many of them say that, but it's an honor. It's very much a privilege.
Well, when you're up, say, just for example, when you do the Opry, and I know you do the Opry a lot, there's little girls that are out there that are watching you up on that stage going, I want to be like Lorrie Morgan. I want to be in Lorrie Morgan's place.
Are you asking me how it feels?
Yeah, I mean, how's that's got to feel pretty awesome when you're standing in that circle and you look down and you see the glimmer in those little girls' eyes.
I had one kept waving at me the other night on the Opry, and I thought, I remember being her age, looking up at Tammy and Barbara Mandrell, and Dottie and Celie, Jean Shepard, all them women at the Opry, and I thought, bless her little heart. And I saw her punch her mommy and say, she waved back, you know.
That's awesome indeed. I know it gives you a great feeling. It's got to be. And, you know, it gives folks a perspective on this, because I know when I've gone to the Opry and just walking in the building, and be it if it's at the Opryland or if it's at the Ryman, just to be a part of that. And even right now, it gives me cold chills just thinking about the history, the heritage that comes along with being a member of the Grand Ole Opry, just being able to walk in that building.
Well, it's truly a special place for me, because my dad was a member of the Opry for 28 years until he passed away, and he sang the last song at the Ryman Auditorium the night we closed the Ryman, and then opened the Opry the next night at the Opryland Hotel. So he was a big part of history making, and just remembering how the Ryman looked when I was a little girl. There was no elevator in the Ryman. There was no pretty little dressing rooms. It was all, the women had a bathroom to go into to change, and the guys, I think, had a couple dressing rooms on the other side, of course. But you walk in there, and I can't help but remember being little and how crowded it used to be backstage, and all the instruments, and Lonzo and Oscar and folks like that, and Grandpa Jones and Joe. Oh God, what was his name? Cousin Jody, and Dill Wood. I mean, it was just, they were all standing around because nobody had dressing rooms to go in. That's how they got so close. They had to get to know each other, and now we're in the Opry House where everybody goes in their dressing rooms, and those of us who want to be around the other ones hang at the end of the stage and off the wings and hang around. But it's truly nostalgic and truly a chilling visit every time we go.
And the personalities that came out of that, you know, for us and up in this area, little Jimmy Dickens, who was a huge part of the Opry, and, you know, just the personalities. And you talk about the friendships and the family that you developed just by being a member of that, but also performing like you guys do. It's just great to be
Correct.
able to do that.
It's awesome. And I loved little Jimmy and Bill Monroe and all those guys. I mean, it was, you know, they were friends with my dad. So, you know, they hung out together. They went fishing together, and you know, I certainly miss those days.
Hey, you know, you did something pretty special here and I know we've been long here, and Lorrie, I appreciate the time, but you did something pretty special here earlier this year at the Opry. Did you perform with the Beach Boys?
I did.
How cool is that?
Out. It was their very first performance on the Grand Ole Opry in their 50-some-year career. And they had asked me to perform the song I recorded with them called Don't Worry Baby. And I felt like it was my first time on the Opry. I was a wreck. And I just had a blast. And those guys are wonderful. They're just wonderful.
Are they just as fun? I know, obviously, time catches up, but, you know, you always saw the energy with those guys on stage, and I got to imagine they still got that same energy.
They do still have it. I promise you they have it. And I think I don't know if you heard me say that there's only 2 or 3 original members of the Beach Boys left. And they still have fun out there on the stage and, you know, making people happy and remembering yesterday. And they take us back to a time when life wasn't so full of what it's full of now. Mm-hmm. And, you know, everybody's walking around scared and just putting on the Beach Boys music just makes you feel better, you know?
Oh, it does indeed. And it doesn't matter if it's, you're sitting around the house, you pull up on the radio or whatever deal, just to hear the stuff back from the 60s to even now, they still sound great live in concert now. I mean, even John Stamos gets out there with them playing drums and all that stuff too.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's great indeed. Lorrie Morgan is here with us. And Lorrie, before we let you go here, I know you got a big show coming up here on Wednesday. You're going to be at the Jackson County Junior Fair in Cottageville, West Virginia. So we're looking forward to having you out there. And folks can expect to see some great things from you on stage. I know they're going to see it, right?
Oh, I hope so. We do a little Beach Boys too, and a lot of country and just different things. You never know what I feel like pulling out on the set, and I feature the band on some things, and so we just have fun. It's just a go by the seat of your pants kind of show.
That's awesome, indeed. We're looking forward to having you back up here in the area. And, and I know coming in the area, the Ashland, Huntington, Ironton area, it's obviously you did that for many years with Keith. But does it still amaze you when you look at this region, and especially the Country Music Highway, the amount of talent that has come from this area?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. It's more than Nashville, that's for sure.
You think about it, you got
y'all practically built the country music industry.
Well, when you think about it, you got obviously with Keith Whitley, but you look at things with the Judds. You go down Ricky Skaggs. You've got even newer guys and girls that are continuing to come out. Loretta Lynn, obviously, Crystal Gale, Gary Stewart.
There's two people in Pam Tillis's band that are both from Pikeville, Kentucky, and it's like, wow. They keep coming. They keep manufacturing them up there.
They keep finding the Chris Stapletons and the Tyler Childers up here in this area, right?
I know, it's amazing.
Hey, Lorrie,
it's amazing, but it's great.
Thank you so much for all you do, all you've done for country music, continuing to do. We're looking forward to the new album. Look forward to catching up with you, too, when the new book comes out. And, on the other side of it, too, and your husband, I know, with he's had a lot as well here, too. You talked about health-wise, and he's had some stuff done. But you were able to still keep Keith Whitley's legacy alive between you and Jesse and the whole family. And we thank you for being able to do that, because obviously he's a huge impact not only in this region but also in the country music world. And like I said, that medallion ceremony is going to be pretty darn special coming up.
I believe it is. Yes, sir.
Lorrie, thank you so much. It's been a big honor catching up with you. Safe travels, and we'll look forward to catching up with you soon, okay?
Thank you so much. See you soon. I know. It's amazing.
Hey, Lorrie,
it's amazing, but it's great.
Thank you so much for all you do, all you've done for country music, continuing to do. We're looking forward to the new album. Look forward to catching up with you, too, when the new book comes out. And, on the other side of it, too, and your husband, I know, with he's had a lot as well here, too. You talked about health-wise, and he's had some stuff done. But you were able to still keep Keith Whitley's legacy alive between you and Jesse and the whole family. And we thank you for being able to do that, because obviously he's a huge impact not only in this region but also in the country music world. And like I said, that medallion ceremony is going to be pretty darn special coming up.
I believe it is. Yes, sir.
Lorrie, thank you so much. It's been a big honor catching up with you. Safe travels, and we'll look forward to catching up with you soon, okay?
Thank you so much. See you soon.
That was the great Lorrie Morgan there. How about the other side of things with Dwight Whitley? He is the older brother of Keith Whitley. They grew up playing together, playing music together in Eastern Kentucky, and now his brother is going into the Country Music Hall of Fame. Joining us now on our Big Buck Legends One-on-One podcast, he is the older brother and one of the greats. It's Dwight Whitley. Dwight, I tell you what, congratulations to you and the family. I got to imagine, what was the reaction like when you first heard, when they made that announcement that your brother's going into the Country Music Hall of Fame?
Well, it was hard to hold back tears. I never thought that I would be affected this way by it. And I was wrong, man. It was so heartwarming that it finally happened. And so many people have longed for it and wished for it and stood by Keith. And now that it's happened, I'm happy for all of his fans and friends. Of course, the family.
I was going to say, you think back to the family, and that's what, with you and Randy and Keith, and I think your mom even helped perform as well. You guys, Bluegrass and Ricky Skaggs, and the history goes way, way back to get to where we are right now.
Yeah, it did. It actually all started in our case with my grandfather, Lewis Ferguson. He was an old-time banjo picker, and he was a blacksmith. Of course, my mother, his daughter, she played banjo, guitar, piano, organ. My father played harmonica, and of course he lost most of his left hand in World War II, but he could still know the banjo and play it. But Randy, my brother, and I played. My sister, older than me, she sang. And of course, Keith came along. He was the last one born, and it was just natural that he would go to music, and that was his life. He never wanted to do anything but that.
And you played the banjo. I know that as well, but it was and then that progression, like I said, and you guys got together with Ricky Skaggs, and they went on with Ralph Stanley as well. It's a beautiful history when you think about it.
Well, actually, Keith and I were playing. We had a weekly radio show, and was doing. It was actually 2 days a week, and we had a TV show in Hazard, Kentucky that we did weekly. It was live, and it was during that time we'd already been playing. We actually started in '68, and it was about '70 when Ricky met Keith at an event in Eazell, Kentucky, and they were the same age, and they hit it off. And Keith invited Ricky over to join us on our radio broadcast, and so they became real close. And them being the same age, they ended up visiting one of Ralph Stanley's concerts, and that's how it all started. He hired them, used them every time he was near, and then when school was out, he took them with him on the road, and it just worked out great for him.
That's awesome indeed. Dwight Whitley is here with us as we talk about his brother Keith going into the Country Music Hall of Fame and the family history here with the music and the legacy lives on. That's the thing we talk about it with all of our listeners. Of course, we play a lot of Keith's music on Big Buck, but it's the legacy will live on forever, and I think going into the Hall of Fame solidifies that legacy.
Well, I agree with you, and it's time it happened, and thankfully it did, and it's a great honor because my wife just read to me there's only 149 members in the Hall of Fame, and you think of all the people that are in music that have not been inducted. It's a great honor for that to happen, and Keith was number 148, and one of my heroes, Jerry Lee Lewis, number 149. I'm so grateful that he got in.
Yeah, that's awesome.
While he was alive.
Yeah, that's all. And Jerry Lee was able to be there at the announcement. I know Lorrie Morgan was accepted it for Keith with Brooks and Dunn. And I didn't realize when I was listening to Ronnie Dunn do the induction, the fact that Keith never performed on the CMA Awards. No. He was not a member of the Grand Ole Opry, but he was set to become a member. He was set to be invited.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks away.
Wow.
And it never. That's just the way things work out sometimes, but.
Wow.
At least now he's getting some recognition.
Well, and, we talk about it as well, and Garth made it in his induction ceremony. I know back in 12 that he said that Keith Whitley deserves a spot in the Country Music Hall of Fame, and the influence that he has, that Keith's music still has on today's generation of country music, but also the guys that are now, like Garth and other people that have achieved the success, they atone it all back to Keith.
That's right. Garth was a huge fan of Keith's, and he said when he was inducted, Keith should have been inducted before me.
Wow.
And he felt that way, and he worked hard. He helped with the tribute that was done for Keith back in, I believe it was 19 in Nashville when, there must have been 30 or 40 artists came out and performed to promote Keith, and that was quite an event. I got to take that in, my wife and our son Mike, and I got to take that all in. That was wonderful that the people would come out and honor Keith in that way. Now, one of the best shows I ever seen in my life.
Are they still doing the motorcycle ride and stuff like that?
Yes, they're doing it. It's
Yeah.
not as huge as it was. I haven't gone in a while. I attended the first 11 and was set to go on the 12th one, and when my son got killed, and I haven't gone since. But it actually started in 1990, the first one.
Wow.
And the last one I went on in '01, there was over 500 motorcycles. It got too big.
Yeah.
So they've downsized it now, and they still do it. It's just not as big an event. But they've taken it from a 2-day event. Now it's more like a 3-day event, but it's mostly centered around the Nashville area. We used to leave Sandy Hook. In fact, one of the DJs from the Dog used to come down and go on the run with us, and of course, Jesse James, people knew him at WTCR. He participated in it all too. But it was and still is a big event.
Yeah, it's awesome indeed, and of course to keep the name alive, to keep the music alive as well. What was your favorite Keith Whitley song?
Well, I think I'm No Stranger to the Rain got to most people, and that was probably my favorite, but I enjoyed everything he ever did. But I remember when they were picking the top 100 songs for the decade of 1980, the number one song was I'm No Stranger to the Rain for the whole decade.
Wow.
And that was something.
Is there? I know there was a lot of tracks that came out, and the album came out after he had passed. Is there any other music that he had recorded that has never been put out there?
Well, I'm still finding out there are songs. In fact, I've heard a couple here lately that I didn't know existed.
Wow.
And there's probably more. Who knows? Hopefully they'll be someday discovered and people can hear them. But his demos were top notch.
Yeah.
I mean, you could take a demo that Keith had done and make a record. That's how good he did it.
I love the story. I love the story about how he and Lorrie met at the studio, because he came in to cut the demo for this Fort Worth Ever Crossed Your Mind, which became one of the 60+ number one hits for George Strait.
You know, that confused Keith. He cut 4 songs. That was one.
Yeah. And
I can't recall the other 3. Honky Tonk Crazy was one. And With These Arms. No. It's one Randy Travis did. On the Other Hand. That
okay.
one. Yeah, and Keith had cut all those. But for some reason, the label said it was too country.
Wow.
Now, can you understand that? I don't. It's too country for Keith, but George Strait heard them. He liked them. He cut them and got hits. He got about 3 or 4 number one songs off of songs that Keith had recorded. And, of course, Randy Travis. And by the way, I'm a huge fan of Randy Travis. I got to meet him at the event they had in 2018. And I love his music. And, of course, him and Keith were friends too, but it was confusing Keith because they were telling him it was too country, and yet other people were getting hits off his songs. But he finally got his turn, and it just took a while.
Yeah, I would love if those demos ever came out. I'd love to hear his version of those songs.
Well, they're around, a lot of them. I know people that have them, but. I agree with you. I think we ought to get the opportunity to let the fans hear them.
You know
Maybe
what?
that'll happen.
I'll say, you know what? If you put those songs out, I bet you they will go to number one on the charts even today. That'll be awesome.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. People are really longing for the old traditional country. You don't hear enough of it anymore, but I think it'll work its way back. All good things come back, I think. What goes around comes around. Is that the old saying?
That's it. And that's one of the great things with our radio station with Big Buck. You know, it's real country. It's the legends, and we're able to keep the legacies alive. And real quick before we let you go, Dwight, I was thinking about it after the announcement, and I kind of sat back and I was like, man, that's as awesome. This is the way it should be. Started thinking, 2 years in a row, 2 members going into the Country Music Hall of Fame from Ashland area. You got to think about it. The Judds last year going in. This time it's Keith Whitley. That's just think about the history.
There's a lot about this area, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
There's a lot of talent here.
Yeah.
and a lot yet to be discovered, I think.
No, I agree with you on that completely, indeed. Now, obviously, you put out an album in Brotherly Love and doing some tracks with that a long time ago, but your path took a little bit different. You the family man, and you worked the coal mines, right?
Well, I didn't work in the mines. I worked in the coal industry.
Okay.
But, I said I had about 20-plus years in the coal industry. And, of course, I've done everything from construction, welding, carpenter work, and ended up, I spent about the last 20 years in a truck.
Oh, there you go.
I told everybody I was working my way to the bottom, but not putting trucking down. I enjoyed that. I loved that. I got to see a lot of country, and it was a good way to make a living until the government put all the regulations on it, and it got so bad I finally just said I'm going to retire, and in 2021 I did. January 3rd was the last day I worked, and I came home, got my old banjo out, and played Last Date on it, and my wife Flo videoed it and put it on YouTube or somewhere, I don't know. But that's how I started my retirement, enjoying my banjos and rocking chairs.
Oh, that's awesome. And playing with those grandkids and great-grandkids. That's the whole part of it, right?
Yeah, I've got, I've got 6 really good banjos, and I'm going today to buy the number 7, and I have 7 great-grandsons. So I got one for each.
There you go. That's awesome indeed. Now, I think the next progression here, and I know there's some people that will be behind us. The next member, I think, that goes into the Country Music Hall of Fame, especially from our region, needs to be old ETC, Earl Thomas Conley. What do you think?
Oh, I agree 100%. Keith and Earl Thomas were really good friends. And if you got a minute, I'd like to tell you this funny story.
Yeah.
They were in California at an award show. Both were nominated for an award. And they looked a lot alike when Keith's hair was short. Mm-hmm. And, of course, Earl Thomas was much taller, but they were walking down the street. Keith told me the story, and he said Earl Thomas Conley was behind him a good ways, but they could see each other. And this lady come running up to Keith. Now, this is in California. Earl Thomas, I want your autograph. And she was talking to Keith. He turned around and looked at Earl Thomas, and he gave Keith a wink and a nod, and Keith signed autograph for Earl Thomas Conley to this woman. So somewhere a lady has Earl Thomas Conley's name signed by Keith Whitley.
That's awesome indeed. Hopefully that will happen next year. We'll make a big push on that over the next year for it. But hey, Dwight, congratulations to you, the family, all of Keith's friends and fans out there as well. And of course, I know it's special, obviously, for Lorrie and for Jesse Keith as well. That he's going in. So congratulations to the family.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate the support that y'all give Keith, and just thank you very much again from all the Whitleys.
And you're part of the family, too, so we are part of our family, Dwight. We appreciate you, buddy.
Oh, we love that, and thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, folks, for checking in with us on our Big Buck Legends one-on-one podcast. More to come here. I'm Jason Toy. Have a great day, everybody.
All right, son, the party's over.
You've been listening to your Big Buck Legends one-on-one podcast.
Thank you for checking us out. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast.
Okay, I need to tell you 2 things.
If you want to contact us, you can email us at studio@bigbuck1015.com or find us online at bigbuck1015.com.
The Big Buck Legends one-on-one podcast has been a production of Kindred Digital, Toy Production Services, and your home for the legends.
Big Buck Country 1015.